right. I'm so excited to chat today about all the different ways that you can fund a real estate transaction. So many people get caught up on the money thinking, hey, where am I going to find the money to do deals? I'm going to talk more in a future session about how to do deals with other people's money. But today I wanted to really dial in on all the many sources of money. And of course, all these can be applied to using other people's money to do a deal. But let's talk about all the different sources that there are for doing deals. Um, First of all, home equity lines of credit. This is one of my favorites. I always like to say, you know, get a house pregnant and have some baby houses. This is there's no sense in getting all the debt paid off on your house. Instead of doing that, golly, why not, you know, use the equity that you have in that house at a low interest rate, borrow that money and use it to buy another property. Again, having, baby houses. This is how I got my start in real estate investing. I got a home equity line of credit and then I used that as a down payment. I was a professor at the time, psychology professor. I didn't have the funds to buy real estate. There was no way. But because I was able to leverage the appreciation that had occurred in my house in a very short period of time, I couldn't believe the kind of equity that I walked into with this house. And because of that, I was able to pull money out of that for a down payment on a rental property. And that's really where I got started. This is what propelled me on my journey, getting into that first deal. So, home equity line of credit is such a great way to do it. In fact, typically, not always, but very often, they'll do it with no closing costs. They'll even sometimes pay for the appraisal. So it's like, why wouldn't you do this, right? Um, it's such a great way to get started, and a lot of people have money sitting around you maybe didn't even realize you should go. And don't look at the county records because your house is probably worth way more than that. Go to a place like Redfin, see what houses in your area are selling for, and you might have a whole bunch of equity in that property that you had no idea about, and that can be a huge resource for you to get started in buying houses. So let's talk about another great source of funds, and that is retirement accounts. Um, a lot of people, they've been putting money into a retirement account. It's making very little interest. It's like, oh, you would be so much better to leverage that. So let's talk about a couple different ways. So there's, if you're currently contributing to a retirement account, um, with the current company that you're working for. That's the first situation we're going to talk about. So most of these you can borrow from. You can borrow up to 50%. You can get a loan on your policy, and you can do that up to about 50% of the value. Oftentimes there's a limitation of $50,000, but that's often enough to do a deal. So you could do a loan, a policy loan from your 401k, talk to your HR person, see what you can do, but usually, you can borrow up to 50% up to $50,000. And here's the crazy thing. I know it's like, "Oh, I'm setting up payments. I got to pay interest on this." I get it, but don't worry about that because you're taking it out of one pocket and putting it into another. The money that you pay in interest on that 401k loan goes right back into your 401k. So you're paying yourself the interest. So it's essentially a zero interest loan that you could go and buy property with. So and usually those payback terms are like 5 years. So you can use that retirement account money to go and buy property. All right, so that's one that's one great source. Now, here's another thing with retirement accounts. Maybe you contributed a lot of money to a retirement account, and now you're not working for that company anymore. Well, this is even better situation because you can use 100% of that money to go and buy property. You can you can turn it in, and I would have, a law firm, an attorney do this for you. Don't try and work these steps all on your own. There's, a decent amount that you need to set up to make this happen. But you can take that money that's just sitting there, and oftentimes people, it's not even making interest, right? I mean, some of this 401k from your previous provider, it's just sitting there in an account, just collecting dust. It's like having an employee just sitting in the break room all day, every day. Why would you let your employee sit in the break room doing nothing? Put that employee to work for you by buying the property and get so many other advantages in the meantime, right? So you can just turn this 401k or IRA, you can turn it into a self-directed 401k IRA. And then you can use all of the money. And now if there's some differentiations, if this was a Roth, then you can ultimately invest that tax-free. So you've already paid the taxes on it if you made it a Roth. So literally, you make $50,000 profit on your flip that you use in your retirement account. Well, guess who doesn't have to pay any taxes on that $50,000? It's amazing. Okay, now if it's a traditional account, then you're gonna be able to defer those taxes. So that's also helpful. You can defer the taxes. So you can pay up front with a Roth, or you can just defer the taxes. And both situations are super, super great, super valuable. So that's another incredible way to get things going with your retirement account. I bought several properties in my retirement accounts. It works great. So let's talk about another source of funds, and that's cash value life insurance. Some of you might have like a whole life policy. Some of you might have an index universal life, whatever it be. Now, if it's a what's called term life insurance, that's not going to work, right? Term life insurance, um, it's literally gonna you can't take money from that. Okay, so but if it's a cash value, like you know um, like a policy like an index universal or whole life, then you can find out, you can call your agent or look up online and see what the cash value is like on that policy. And it's very similar to a HELOC, right? Because you've been building up this cash value, and now you're able to to borrow from that cash value. You're going to have to pay some interest, but it's going to be a low percent of interest, and you can use that to buy real estate. I got into one of my first deals after using the HELOC was my first, but then I used my life insurance policy to get a deal that scored me $96,000 profit. So that is amazing. And actually, to buy my dream house, I used a cash value life insurance to buy my dream house. I got a $220,000 loan from my life insurance. I bought the house, and then the cool thing is the house, I got it at such a deal, and once I put a sports court in the property, I got it reappraised and got a home equity line of credit. Literally got all that money, all the money I put down on the property, I got it all back with this home equity line of credit, and now I've been able to pay back that policy loan. So super great way, super amazing source of of money to do deals. Let's talk about personal credit cards. That's the next thing that I wanted to discuss is the personal credit card. So here's the nice thing with 0%. What I love about credit cards is you can get 0%. There's all kinds of cards out there. You can go to creditcards.com, click on the 0% option. Most of these credit lines last 12 to 18 months. Now, there are some caveats to using 0% cards. Obviously, you're limited in what you can do with it, right? So you could use your cards to pay contractors, to buy supplies, things like that accept. Not all contractors will take a credit card, but some will. So you can use those funds that you get on 0% cards to do the things like that. Now, there's other things that you can't use it for, like putting a down payment. You can get creative though. Okay, so look at the cards and see if they have a balance transfer option. A lot of cards do have a balance transfer option, so you can transfer for maybe a 2 or 3% fee. You can transfer the 0% into, sometimes right into your bank account even, for a fee. So that's one way to turn credit cards into cash by doing a simple balance transfer. Or you could I've even had one where I've sent it to a card that had a 0 balance, and then that card sent me a check for $5,000, right? So that was another way to get around it. If they don't let you put it right into your bank account, you can sometimes put it into a card that has a 0 balance, and then that card will send you a check because they don't want to have all this extra money on the account, right? So there's other companies like Plastique, for example, that will for a fee can also turn your credit card into cash. So there's a lot of really creative ways to do that, and I can even tell you some other ways if you reach out to me. There's a lot of great ways to turn credit card money into cash. And here's the other cool thing is you can get business lines of credit through credit cards as well. And that the great thing about those business credit cards is that you can max them out, and you're not even going to take a hit on your credit score when you max out a business credit card. So be careful with personal lines of credit. If you max it out, it's going to hurt your credit. With a business business credit card, you can max it out and it's not going to impact your credit score, which is super, super helpful. So keep that in mind. And the 0% interest business card is awesome, but those are oftentimes you can't extend those. They're just 12 months. And whereas some of the personal credit cards, you can really get them to extend that 0%. I've had one going on 5 years now. I just call and threaten to cancel, and they'll give me another year on 0%. So there's a lot of great ways to do this. I've used credit cards for my flips. I've used it for so many things. Again, you got to be careful. You got to keep track of those deadlines and make sure that you're not missing any payments. Set up auto pay. That's what I do. I have a Google Doc that tracks every one of my cards and tells me all the detail about it. And then, ultimately, it's great because, I'm just utilizing that, and so really great way to do it. So let's talk a little bit about business credit lines. So there are some banks that will you can apply for a business credit line. Sometimes they'll give you 50, even 100,000, even more. It works like a credit card, except you can use it more freely. You don't have to cash it in. You can write a check. So it gives you some additional options. Those business credit lines, oftentimes they're 8, 9, 10%, but it's like that long term. You don't have to worry about the 0% expiring. You can get a business credit line. You have to have an established business. So that doesn't work for everyone, but the nice thing, you don't have to worry about those balloons. It's constantly at, 8, 9, 10%. And so I've gotten a lot of those business credit lines now, and it's another great way to go. Um, so some of the key, just to review, there's a lot of ways that you can get money available to do deals, and these include, getting using your home equity, using the equity in your home. I like to compare this to like having an employee who's sitting in the break room. If you have equity just sitting in your house, it's like having that employee sitting in a break room doing nothing for you. You might as well tap that equity, use it to build and get more property. Um, Cash value life insurance is another powerful strategy. Retirement accounts, super amazing. You can either borrow from them if it's with a current employer, or you can just turn it into a self-directed account and invest all the money into your real estate. 0% personal or business cards, amazing way, or getting a business line of credit. There's so many ways to finance your deals. You just got to be creative, and you got to go after it and find those different options. So I'm so excited to help you. If you want to reach out, I'd love to. I got a lot of deals that I need partners on. If you want to be a money partner, credit partner, love to work with you. Just reach out to me. And thank you so much for joining. I hope you've gained some value. Have a great day.